Hey everyone, it's Canadian Libertarian. I'm going to touch down on a subject I covered in a past video, but now that we've seen the culmination of what the establishment media, the political propagandists, you see how far they're trying to push that narrative, even though they know that the gig's up. They've lost control of that ability to dominate the narrative and influence people's minds in the manner that they've been so accustomed to, so used to for so long. Prior to the internet age, it was actually quite easy for establishment media outlets and those in academia, right, to align themselves politically and use their ideology, their political ideology, in ways that translated and transferred into many aspects where they propagate, through government, like I say, through media, through the universities, even public schools, right? We're seeing constantly how everything has been turned into a political ideology platform. Politics rules the day, and it's predominantly because the left, okay, the progressives want to bring the religion of statism predominantly, whereas the right still have Christianity and their faith-based religions to fall back upon. The left, predominantly, which makes up a lot of atheists, they don't have that dominant religion instilled in their brain, right? So they seek out alternatives, and the state has become that dominant religion for them. And because the state represents the real world aspect of things, they can see when they want to dominate and control things, they can see an immediate benefit in return, which is another thing that tells you the mentality and then the economic sensibility of the left. A conservative, let's say a right-winger, they recognize that you have to do all the right things in the here and now while you're living on this planet. So you got to put off and do the right things now, but there's the benefit later on down the road, like when you die and you go to heaven, right? So it's long-term thinking if you're a right-winger, or should I say a right-winger that believes in the faith-based religion of Christianity per se. Whereas if you're an atheist leftist, everything's about the here and now. You don't believe there's anything after life, just like John Maynard Keynes, right? After you die, that's it. So everything has to happen now. There's no, and think about it too, even as far as like going back to hunter-gatherer days, how the human brain would have functioned under that. So you had to save, or if you lived in northern climates or any climate where there was scarcity of resources or food, you had to be instinctively resourceful, so you didn't eat everything all at once, and you saved something for later when you didn't have the ability to go out and hunt and forage for your food. You had to have a stockpile saved for later on. Christianity, right-wingers have that same mentality in their head, where you put off immediate gratification for the potential of long-term gains and being able to fulfill your gratifications at least somewhat in the future. The left-wing ideology and the media propagandists and pundits, you might as well call them the preachers of the left, they have that same, let's have it now, who gives a shit about everything else, burn everything to the ground because there is no afterlife, right? That is a huge divide psychologically and psychologically for the masses, and when it comes down to where they align politically, right? But we all recognize now that after the Brexit, after what happened in Italy with the referendum, after what happened in the U.S. with Trump being elected, and I mean, fortunately, Trudeau got in. Fortunately, in Canada, Trudeau got in before that groundswell of realization flourished, And it's a sad thing that people need leaders to point that stuff out to follow. And they needed Trump, they needed Nigel Farage, they needed someone or some group to lead them. To me, I think it's disgusting. People should be able to think without having some political leader pointing them in the right direction. But like I say, in Canada, Trudeau come to power, and I think about it. It was after Harper. So, I mean, Harper, which was the biggest piece of shit. I mean, and those that call Harper a conservative, I mean, please. Social conservative, maybe. Fiscally conservative? Really? Fuck off. Bailing out banks, GM, Dodge. and allowing all these crazy crony bullshit. There's nothing conservative about that. There's nothing free market about that. So when people even talk about that, oh, well, at least Harper was a free market guy. What the fuck? He sure as fuck didn't act like, right? I don't know what the hell happens in his functions in his actual mind, right? But 2 plus 2 never equaled out to be in the 4 as far as I'm concerned. Leftists, they don't even put out much of a pretense. Although you hear them now talking about the free markets when they talk about Donald Trump, where he's doing these interventions into making GM or Ford or all these other companies, or the carrier, right? Carrier group, keeping jobs in America, or instead of shipping them overseas or down to Mexico. But think about it. When they're trying to say, oh, well, see, Trump's against the free market. Where the fuck is the free market? Show me anywhere where there isn't gigantic amounts of government bureaucracy, regulations, rules, and lobbyist efforts that completely manipulate and distort the actual market. So there's nothing free about the market. And to pretend otherwise, to be completely against market and capitalism, only to now turn around, as the left are doing, and we're seeing it as plain as day, right? To turn around and try to act as if, now, like I say, yeah, we're functioning in a fucked up situation, so there is no free market. If you want to argue about how you try to get to a free market, that kind of stuff's up in the air, and I love that kind of debate, that kind of discussion. That is important. But to just constantly, the left now, like I said, and I've said it in prior video, they represent pure immaturity, short-term thinking, lack proper critical thinking skills, objective mentality. That's absent from the leftist mindset that we're seeing, that's propagated from the media, from the politicians, all of that. Those type of people, you're not seeing anything that is based on actual objective reality. It's just a reaction to the fact that they lost. What we're seeing now is the fact that they realize that the gig is up and they're doubling down on their bullshit. Instead of trying to learn, retweak their narrative, and try to hope to do something better in the future, they're doubling down on the same bullshit. But we all have to recognize that, well, you don't have to, but it's going to come to realization and fruition, whether you accept it or acknowledge it or not. But people such as myself, the ones that are being honest, consistent, logically, economically, morally, philosophically, socially. I don't dig into the politics, the bullshit of politics, enough to point out how retarded it is. But we are the ones that now the dividends are paying off. Being honest, objective, logically consistent with the people, that all that hard work and effort is paying off. The left, as we all know, predominantly don't believe in hard work, the proper ethic. And now they're pissed off that people are, well, try sometime, instead of being lazy and trying to use manipulation and propaganda, instead of doubling down on all the bullshit, try reversing course and doing what people such as myself are doing, and you may actually gain a benefit and meet me somewhere along the way, hopefully, or people like us along the way. But we know that's not the case. We're dealing with irrational people, sociopaths, control freaks, that, like I say, they don't have that, they seem to lack that mental capacity, that mental ability to unwind all the bullshit and try to do what's even beneficial for them. Not that they would ever do it to benefit anyone else, because as we're starting to realize too, we're so inclusive or tolerant. The left is the least tolerant. The only thing they tolerate is those that agree almost exclusively with everything they say. That's the furthest. That's as far as their tolerance goes. But the pretense that they put forth is being constantly undermined, because the internet has allowed alternative voices to surface and be heard. Before we had the ability to have all these alternative voices heard from the masses, they could control and dominate the narrative to the point where no one really questioned it. Why would you? If you have no evidence or information to the contrary, most people are going to accept what they've been told, especially when you're told that the information you're receiving comes from experts, people with supposed much higher IQs and intelligence and abilities than you. That's another false narrative that they put forth. I grew up knowing full well. It took me a while. It was something that took the culmination of my lifetime up until now, age 46, that I realized the people that we're taught that have such abilities and authority, it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. Even like when I for the right-wingers. Even the religious people that I was taught by the right-wingers in my family. Even those religious authorities, now that I'm an adult, I realize, yeah, they're well-trained and well-versed in the propaganda or the mystical ideology that they've been taught themselves. So they can repeat and regurgitate that stuff excellently, meticulously. They're great salesmen, great spokesmen for their ideology. But where's the basis in reality? Where's the basis of objectivism? Where's the 2 plus 2 actual equals 4 universally and consistently? That's lacking there too. It's lacking on the left, it's lacking on the right. The only common sense, the only objective reason, the only logically consistent narratives that you're going to hear, and people recognize this continually, and even more so every day, are people such as myself that don't have no stake or claim in trying to dominate anyone else. Those are the people that are going to be honest with you. Now, not everyone's created equal, so some might might meet all that criteria, but might not necessarily have the intellect or the ability or the resolve to remain objective when it's most important to do so. So yes, even those people aren't always going to be in complete agreement or aligned with proper philosophy or what liberty truly means. It's up to you as an individual, as a person, to weed through all the bullshit you hear and learn to discern bad information from factual, or even if there's a subjective aspect to the information, what makes sense? What's logically consistent? What's universal? What removes any pretense of giving an authority over others? What gives the pretense of just people being people, and I get to be me, you get to be you. I don't get to force my ideas on you. You don't get to force your ideas on me. You don't get to steal from me. I don't get to steal from you. Like I said, and we know where this is going. This is the Enlightenment era 2.0, okay? Whether people want to accept and realize that right now, because we're at the forefront, the beginnings of it, but this is the modern intellectual age, the information age. Truth is coming out. It takes people a lot longer to absorb and accept the truth, and I understand that. There's various levels, right? But for those that are constantly and continually going against those who are trying to speak the truth or refusing to share or acknowledge that because they don't want to, have some harm relationships with the collectivists or the status among them, well, you're the one that's hampering and hindering everything just as much as your opponents. If you are truly convinced and convicted in the philosophy and principles of liberty, and you recognize instinctively that it's universally consistent and morally proper and just the right thing to do, then stop being chicken shits. Help the people that are trying to help you. If you don't, like I say, enough people are finally coming around, but do you really want to be the last one on board? Show some courage and conviction and stand for what's right now, rather than wait until everyone else, until you see a big enough lineup or a big enough group say, yeah, I feel safe to go in there. Be a leader. Or, if you're going to be a follower, continue to be a follower, but stop being a barrier. Stop lining up or suppressing our ability to get or spread our information, right? It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.